Who to start and who to sit. That's what we're helping you with today, along with giving a few players that we think might help put your team to victory, or if you leave them in, might help seal your fate for defeat.
It's about that time.
Stone on Sports.
How's it going, everybody? You're tuned in to Stoned on Sports Fantasy Football. My name is Matt. Got Kyle here with me today, and we are talking starts and sits. It's Thursday. We got a game tonight, and these are decisions that are going to make or break your week, especially now that we are into buys and like we've talked before, all these injuries. It's a real pain in the ass.
It definitely is. It's tough to navigate sometimes. It really is. And like that gentleman the other day that was on here Tuesday who had that dynasty league, and he just was effed at running back with nobody available at all, and it's tough and it happens, and you just got to make the best of it. And maybe you get lucky,
That's it, man. There's definitely a luck aspect that goes into fantasy football. And that's what makes it fun. But there are ways to mitigate that effect. You can have, bigger rosters, a bigger league size, stuff like that.
You sure can. So we got 5 guys that we recommend that you start this week, and 5 guys that you should think twice about for sure, with Matt's little hand motions there. First guy we got, it's a start. It's QB Geno Smith. So, Shane Waldron was the OC there. He's since left there, and Mike McDonald took over and hired his own guys. But he's a terrible I don't know if he's a terrible offensive coordinator, but he's not great. But his system was not really ideal in Seattle for 3 wide receiver sets. He really liked to use a lot of tight ends, double tight ends, and in walks Ryan Grubb. Tremendous success at Washington with 3 receivers, Odunze, Polk, and what's the other guy's name? Jalen McMillan.
There you go.
And now he has in Seattle as the OC. He's got Metcalf, JSN, Lockett, and they've really opened up the offense there, which has really made Geno flourish. He's averaging 337 passing yards over the last 3 weeks, and the coaching staff there just really seems to understand how to put him in the best position to perform up to his talent. He's also been willing to run the ball, which I think is nice. It's a great bonus for fantasy. This season, 16 rush attempts, 74 yards, 4.6 a carry. He's got 8 first downs and 1 rushing touchdown. Week 5, they got middle of the pack Giants defense there, and I think Geno will have plenty of opportunities to connect with those playmakers he has in at wide receiver. Especially if he has 56 attempts to do so, like he had Monday night against our Lions. That was a great.
Didn't they run
game.
like over 70 plays too? Just something ridiculous.
You could be correct, but that was an exciting damn game. We're not here for that, but go Lions. He finished his QB 8 last week, and coincidentally, he's QB 8 on the year. Pretty nice. The offensive line there has been really damn good in Seattle as well. I think that's allowed Geno, to be able to stand in the pocket a little bit longer and deliver on some long, some big plays and connect on some long passes with those playmakers. And the defense is pretty good again there in Seattle, which means more opportunities for the offense, shorter fields to work with. It helps everybody. Watching some of the snaps and stuff from the Detroit game on Monday, he was under pressure quite a bit from the pass rush there in Detroit. It's a pretty good pass rush, I think. I wish I had some more guys on the line other than Aiden, but my point is he still managed to have a ton of passing yards, and I don't think that's going to change against the Giants. They have allowed a 106.5 QB rating this season. They've allowing over 72% completion rate, and they've allowed 6 touchdowns and just 1 interceptions. And Smith really has a pretty good fantasy, fantasy matchups on the horizon. The Giants, again, I mentioned this week, San Francisco, Atlanta, the Rams, and then the Niners again. So really over the next five of the next 6 weeks, with the lone exception being week 8 against the Bills, those are all pretty damn good matchups for Geno. He's yet to throw more than one passing touchdown in a game, but once that starts happening, I don't think he'll be sitting on the waiver wire very long, and his ownership will go up. I think he's a great option this week against the Giants.
Yeah, I think so too. He's actually leading the league in passing. I think he's at like a 1182 for yardage through those 4 games. And it's funny you talk about Shane Waldron. He actually went to Chicago,
Yeah,
where they loaded up their wide receiver room. And I don't know, Matt Eberflus doesn't really strike me as the sharpest knife in the drawer, and bringing in somebody like Waldron to run the offense kind of confirms that belief, at least in my mind.
I think you're right. Yeah, Shane Waldron's not good. Him and Press Taylor should hang out.
They should, on the unemployment line. Well, no, I don't ever want to advocate for somebody to lose their job, but I will say Press Taylor is terrible. Him and Nathaniel Hackett could, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. So the run game in Jacksonville is in disarray, right? And I think that Trevor Lawrence is going to have to keep looking to the air to move the ball. And the targets for Christian Kirk have picked up over the past 2 weeks. And Matt will tell you why Kirk has a great fantasy matchup this week versus the Colts.
Yes, he does. And he's somebody, he got off to a slow start the first 2 weeks of the season. He had just 4.9 total points in PPR and 7 targets. But the last 2 weeks, he's the wide receiver 15, and he's scored 35 points. On the year, he's got 22 targets, 15 grabs for 140 and a touch. That puts him at wide receiver 45 on the season, averaging 10 points. He's tied for 18th in targets with 29, and he's 23rd in team target share at 23.8%, but he's 9th in air yards with 383. And for somebody who has the second most slot snaps in the league, he's lined up there 146 times. That's a rate a little over 78%. His ADOT seems pretty high, actually. He's 14th in the league at 13.2 yards. He doesn't get elite separation, but his 74.5% route win rate is tops in the NFL. The Colts have allowed the 7th most points to wide receivers, just under 145, and they're tied for 7th in points per game at 36.2, and they're even worse in the red zone. They're 30th in red zone points per game at almost 9, and 31st in total red zone points allowed to wide receivers at just under 35. They're also bottom 10 in receptions, yards. They've given up 3 100-yard games, and they're tied for the most something because I did not complete that point. Awesome. Trevor Lawrence, over games against the Colts the past 2 seasons, he's averaging 210 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, while on the surface, that's not amazing. That doesn't knock your socks off. Understanding that a quarter or more of those targets are going to go to Christian Kirk, I think opens up some possibility. On the Indianapolis side, I think if Joe Flacco starts, we could maybe be looking at a sneaky shootout. We'll see. You know, I know both you and I were high on Christian Kirk coming into the season. And, you know, if Jacksonville doesn't turn things around, I think they're going to start to offload some players. How awesome would Christian Kirk be filling that Rashee Rice role in Kansas City?
Oh, God, that would be beautiful.
Now, they can't afford him right now because of his contract, but I'm sure they could find a way to work some things around. But that's just, you know, me speculating, pissing into the wind, whatever you want to call it. But for this week, he's a definite start for me. I think his trend of, you know, the past couple of weeks that we've seen is going to continue, because this is a must-win game for them.
Yeah, for sure. Targets per route run last week, which is a pretty good metric for, you know, kind of predicting Consistent fantasy output. And Christian Kirk was number 1 last week. He ran 29 routes, saw 12 targets. So his total total targets per route run, if I could talk today, it was over 41%. That's pretty damn good. Care to guess who number 2 and number 3 in receivers were last week? They play for the same team. Should give you an easy hint there.
No idea.
Neighbors in Wandale.
I should have guessed.
Yep, I laid that up for you. We got a couple questions in the chat. Blue Jays, he's thinking through some trade options. Would you trade Chuba or Kareem Hunt for Devontae Adams?
Well, Kareem Hunt, who really knows what he has left in the tank? But somebody like him is going to have some value if he can get the lion's share of the carries there in the Kansas City backfield, especially with, Rashee Rice. He got put on IR earlier today. Who knows if it's season-ending IR or just 4 weeks? There's more tests to come. Chuba Hubbard has looked good, and Dave Canales come out and made some comments. I'm paraphrasing, but he's, essentially praising the job that Hubbard has done. Still, they drafted Jonathan Brooks, and I think Hubbard is a piece that has an expiration date. We don't necessarily know when that's going to be, but it's going to be there, right? Best case scenario is, we end up with a 50-50 split once Jonathan Brooks kind of gets up to speed. Devontae Adams, word around the campfire is he's going to go to the Jets to be reunited with Aaron Rodgers. I know there was talk too about him wanting to go to New Orleans and play with Derek Carr for some fucking reason, which is beyond me.
They love each other for sure.
They do. I mean, they were college teammates, and I get that, wanting to go play with your buddy. But at the same time, Devontae Adams is an elite talent. You'll hear speculation that this hamstring injury is legit or it's not legit. At the end of the day, I don't really give two shits if it is or not. Even at his age, he's 31 or 32, he's still one of the top, we'll call it 5 receivers in the league. If you have an opportunity to get him for a relatively low price like that and pair him up with a vastly superior quarterback, I'm going to take it. I mean, that's a move to win a league. And, at the end of the day, scared money don't make money.
But when is he going to play on any team?
I think he misses. I think he misses this week, and he'll be back next week.
Okay.
What team he's on is anybody's guess.
Right. Yeah, that'll be interesting. So he's got Kamara, Jacobs, Hunt, Hubbard, Bigsby. He's lacking at wide receiver because he lost Kupp and Rice, and I'm sure you're not alone in that. I'm sure lots of managers drafted both of those guys.
Kupp should be back here in a couple of weeks too. I think LA has a bye coming up, so I'd expect Kupp back like week 7.
Right. Search and kill. He needs a tight end. Colby Parkinson, Cade Otton, Taysom Hill, or Pitts. I'm out on Pitts. Taysom Hill's hurt, right? Dealing with rib fractures. I don't think he'll play. I like Cade Otton. And I'll tell you why, actually, right now.
Please do.
He's tight end 21 on the year after a first couple rough weeks there, the first couple weeks of the season, combined for just 4 targets, 1 catch, and 5 yards. But since then has become quite a strong part of the Tampa Bay passing game. And I think he's a very, very solid fill-in for tight end this week. Possibly if you got Goddard on by or Laporta on by, he would be a good one to go with as well. And really, outside of the top 3 or 4 tight ends, everybody you're just throwing a dart at, really tight end. And it's even, and you're doing that normally, it's even worse this year. Okay. I think that the Bucs have made a much more concerted effort to get the ball to Otton, but they still haven't, the result there hasn't been Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are suffering. They're still getting looks as well. And the result there has really been an offense that is second the league in passing touchdowns per game, 9th in passing yards per game, and 10th in pass yards per attempt. And he quietly posted a 20.9 fantasy points in the last 2 weeks. That's 17 targets the last 2 weeks, caught 13 of them for 99 yards. That's the third most targets of all tight ends over the past 2 weeks, behind Goddard and Jake Ferguson. It's pretty good. He's also been targeted in the red zone one time each in the last 3 weeks, although he has yet to score a touchdown this year. He's also playing a full complement of snaps, which means plenty of routes run. He has played 154 passing snaps, and he's ran a route 133 times. So that's about 86.5% route participation. That's pretty good for a tight end. And, based on the workload the last couple of weeks, I think he could realistically hit 6 or 7 targets tonight and get 40 receiving yards, which really, that's enough to make him a starter in most formats this week, really, for tight end. So faces the Falcons. Obviously, they've allowed at least 5 tight end receptions in 3 out of 4 games this season, along with an average of 38.5 receiving yards to the position and the 9th most points to the position. I have him just outside my top 10 for this week, but definitely someone you can start if you're dealing with injury, buys, or just straight up ineffectiveness.
I think so too. Give me 1 second here. All right. So
Tubo just got Otton, lots of targets. That's good.
Yeah. So we got, I think it's Aiden in the chat. Juwan Jennings or Jakobi Meyers?
This is a layup for sure. It's Jakobi Meyers all the way. Juwan Jennings had that great game because Kittle and Debo were out. They're back. They're good. Juwan Jennings is far down the pecking order now. Talented player, very good. But this is fantasy. And with Devontae out, Jakobi and should be the top target getter there. Maybe Bowers does, but Meyers should see plenty of looks.
Yeah, and Aiden followed up there. Jakobi Meyers is going up against Pat Surtain this week.
There's that,
which is a very difficult.
You gave
matchup.
Me one or the other, Aiden. I only had to go, but I understand.
Going forward, Jakobi Meyers is the clear answer, without a doubt. For this week, holy shit, that's tough. Now, Meyers typically operated out of the slot, but with Devontae Adams out, he actually moved to the outside. I think last week he played 44 snaps on the outside against, we'll call it a dozen on the inside. It's hard to say start Juwan Jennings, though, just because San Francisco, they got Debo. They got Kittle back. They've got Ayuk. He's so far, just like you said, he's so far down the pecking order that maybe he gets 3 or 4 targets, if that. Damn. I would just say go with Jakobi Meyers and hope he catches a touchdown, because neither of those options are really great.
No.
But like I said, going forward, Jakobi Meyers should be the wide receiver 1 on that team once Devontae Adams and his situation gets sorted out. That same guy, Mike Evans and Garrett Wilson, went against 2 weeks in a row. And Mike Evans has another tough matchup tonight.
AJ Terrell.
Yeah. The last time those two squared off, Mike Evans had 1 grab for 8 yards.
Yeah. I hear the lozenge in your
sorry.
In your
I'm a little under the weather, folks.
I appreciate you being on here, so I didn't have to solo it. I could just hear it. I'm like, has he got ice or something in his mouth? But anyway, yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by, Aiden. If you haven't yet, drop a like and subscribe. We'll be here every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. And we're also around Sundays at noon for Tinker Time. And those are for, last minute start sit questions, whatever you got. If you just want to come through and shoot the shit, we're good with that too.
Dubo says, Sam Darnold will be in, Matt. He is him, the MVP. Yeah, he's looked good. That defense has really looked very good as well. So
yeah, we got Cosmic in the chat. Should he do this trade? Full PPR. He gets Waddle, Khalil, Shakir, or Herbert. It's got to be Shakir.
I'm thinking
Braylon Allen for Jordan Mason. His running backs would be Walker and Achane. Wide receiver would be Waddle, Mike Evans, and Shakir in the flex, or maybe Christian Kirk. His wide receivers are bad because Rashee Rice got hurt. Don't feel alone there, brother. There's a lot of people feeling that pain. That one is kind of tough. We know what Waddle can be, but right now ain't nobody on Miami doing shit with Tyler Huntley or whatever other jabroni they run out there at quarterback. Now, word around the campfire is that once he's eligible to come off IR, Tua should be back. We don't have any clarity on Christian McCaffrey. It come out earlier this week. He's dealing with that Achilles tendonitis in both legs, which, was not disclosed until a couple days ago. And Jordan Mason has done a hell of a job. And part of me wants to believe that even when CMC comes back, Mason has earned some touches.
Yeah, he has. I just can't imagine that he come back and they're going to give him 25 touches or 20 touches. I just don't see it.
No. And he gets Braylon Allen, who is damn close to having standalone value.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know that backfield will end up as a 50-50 split, but he's earned the touches. I think I'm going to do it. I mean, this is a sell high on Jordan Mason. You're getting a lot back for him. I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm interested. I'm Cosmic. I'm curious who you might have to drop there because the 3-for-1, but I like it as well. You're getting the best players, I think, as well. I like Shakir there. I mean, Josh Allen seems to be liking him too. So, and yeah, Braylon Allen looks like a straight up stud and would be starting on, a team without a Breece Hall.
Sure. I mean, at worst, he's an elite handcuff because if something happens to Breece Hall, Braylon Allen's a running back one.
Yeah. Deontay Johnson sustainable with Dalton Blue Jays wants to know. I think that he is.
Yes, absolutely.
I can't imagine why he's not going to see 8 to 10 targets a game.
He should. He's the best receiver on that team. And we saw what he could do even when he was in Pittsburgh, though he didn't really find the end zone much. He was the primary target there, even with George Pickens. He's got pretty good hands. He's a good route runner. He's dependable. That's exactly what a quarterback is looking for. And Andy Dalton, they call it the Dalton line for a reason, right? It's kind of, all right, I'll take everybody above him as my starter. Everyone below is kind of below average. But at the same time, he's a pro quarterback. He knows how to get his receivers the ball, and he's showing just that. I'm all in on Deontay Johnson keeping this up.
Yeah. I've got somebody new in here, I think. Ravens Show, yo. Welcome to the show. Who would you rather have rest of the season? Oh, this is a great question. James Conner or Monty? He's 3-1. He's getting offered Achane for one of them. I can withstand the non-2 weeks. Okay. Ugh.
I'm moving Conner. I understand he is the primary back there, but at the same time, we know he's going to get hurt at some point.
He's always missed 3 or 4 games a year.
Monty is right now, he's a running back one. I think he's like the 9th or 10th overall running back. He has a very defined and consistent role in that offense, and an offense that is superior to that they've got out there in Arizona. If I got to move one, it's going to be Conner.
Yeah, I agree. Couldn't have said it better myself. Hayden said he's 0-4. He made a huge mistake. He regrets trading Mason, Gibbs, and Ayuk for Jetta, and yeah, I would have slept on that one.
That was a steep price, brother.
Yeah,
but sometimes shit happens.
Yeah, and appreciate it. Dropped a like for you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And yeah, give us a like and subscribe. We really appreciate it. Again, here every Tuesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, and on Sunday at 12 noon Eastern for your last minute. Taking all your last minute questions live. Anything you got. Yes. Blue Jays is back. Josh Jacobs for Deontay Johnson.
That's a toughie. It really is. Squirt gun to my head. I want the Josh Jacobs side of that.
I agree. And really, and if you looked, I mean, you guys have all probably know, but passing is down. It is like a resurgence of the running back through the first 4 weeks of this season. And maybe it stays like that. Maybe it doesn't. Offenses are going to have to adjust on those cover 2 looks, those 2 deep safety look, and we'll figure it out. But yeah, I'd hold on to the running back. Plus they get hurt more often. It'd be nice to have as many as you possibly can.
It is, and with Deontay Johnson, he's great now. What he's doing is sustainable with Andy Dalton in there, but we don't know how much longer Andy Dalton is going to be in there. I mean, Carolina did spend a number 1 overall pick on Bryce Young. We don't know if his ass is just toast for the rest of the season, if this is, a few weeks for him to get his mind right or what.
Yeah. Ravens Show, yo, thanks very much. Yep, you're welcome, man. Good luck. Hopefully you get that trade to go through. We got Cooper Lauren here. He needs a question asked. Needs 2 running backs to start this week, and it's not pretty. Yeah, as soon as the first name, I was like, nope, that ain't pretty. Najee, Jerome Ford, Rashad White, or Bucky.
This one's easy for me. I'm starting Jerome Ford and Bucky Irving.
Yep. And I think Ford we're talking about here shortly.
Yeah.
As well. Yep, I agree as well. And looking at DraftKings, some of their odds and stuff, Bucky Irving's getting some. He could take over that backfield this week. Jacob Ander, welcome back, man. Hey, I haven't seen you in a while because I remember that picture.
Yeah.
Welcome back. Need 1 for his RB2 in PPR. Rashad White, Bucky Irvin, or Trey Sermon. I think I know what you're going to say, man.
It sucks because this decision has to be made right now, right? Because you've got Rashad White and Bucky Irvin playing tonight. I don't think Jonathan Taylor is playing this week. I'm going to go with Trey Sermon.
Okay. I think that's a good call too. Yep. He's going to get the majority of the snaps there. There's no, he's the only other guy other than Jonathan Taylor that's taken a rush attempt on that team so far this season. I agree.
Yeah. They've got some jabroni behind him. Goodson or something like that might get some of the passing down work. But most of the rushing work is going to go to Sermon.
Yeah. Aiden, I don't know how I'm on for you as Jefferson, Olave, Barkley, Kyron, Devonta Smith is my core. Yeah. It's not bad.
It's not bad at all. And Kyle and I were just talking before we went live, or maybe it was on here. I don't know. I'm heavily medicated at the moment, but luck is a big factor in fantasy football. There's, like in our podcast league, I'm like first or second in scoring, but I'm only 2-2. It's just sometimes that's the way it goes. But look, even at 0-4, you are not out of it.
Yeah.
Because you've still got, 2/3 of the regular season left. And who knows, in 6 weeks, you might be 5-5 and right in the thick of things. Usually I'm shooting for 8 wins. I think 8 wins, a game or 2 over 500 will get you in the playoffs. You're still in it, Aiden. Keep working the waiver wire, keep hustling, man. And we're here to help you in any way that we can.
Absolutely. Blue Jays is praying for a big game from Otton tonight. I'm sure many fantasy managers are. I mentioned he hasn't scored a touchdown yet, but he's seeing targets. He's seeing at least one red zone look in each of the last 3 weeks. And I think it's going to happen. We'll see. We will see. Cooper Lauren says, thanks, guys. He's back with another question. No problem. This is the thing, too. We love answering questions, guys. We will not leave a question unanswered. We, pride ourselves. Now, we've never had 300 people in here either. So we'll see what happens when we get to that. But love it. So do you guys think he should put in the flex? Dobbs, Dell, Rashad White, or Najee? I think is Dell's playing this week?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. God, I'm leaning towards Dobbs off the top of, but I don't like White, and I really don't like Harris. And
for me, it's Romeo Dobbs for the floor, Tank Dell if you need upside.
Yep, that's a great answer. Yep, and you wonder who's gonna. It was Dontavian Wicks last week that really ran the show there when Seahawks got hurt, and I thought it would be Romeo, and he still got looks too. Don't get me wrong, but I think he got 6 targets, but pretty good. All right. So yeah, Jerome Ford, right?
Yeah,
He
that's
hasn't
where we're at.
he hasn't put up huge numbers, but this week he gets a Commanders defense that's allowed 4 different backs to score 14 plus fantasy points this season. Matt, that's pretty damn close to the magical number of 15.
It is. So he's RB22, averaging 13 points per game. He's got 3 games with 10 or more points in PPR. Season long stats: 39 carries, 203 yards with a touchdown, 20 targets, which is third among running backs, 17 receptions, also third, for 85 yards. This guy's averaging 5.1 yards per touch. That's 22nd in the league. And even though he only averages 14 touches per game, his 66.3% opportunity share is 19th in the league, and his 68.8% snap share is 13th. Now, the team only averages 21 and a half run plays per game, which is 30th in the NFL, but the Commanders allow the 10th most points to running backs, right around 20 per game. They've allowed the 10th most rushing yards, but the second highest yards per carry at 5.2. Now, the Browns offense on the whole has not looked very good. And I'm not splitting the atom with that analysis either. They've scored 17, 18, 15, and 16 points in their 4 games. And they are the only team in the NFL not to have a game with over 300 yards of offense. That's pretty damn bad considering the talent that they have there. But that Washington defense is essentially has been just as bad. I think this is a game where there's a good chance at some points being scored. The Browns defense on the whole is pretty good, but they're pretty susceptible to big plays in the passing game. And especially in PPR leagues, if you can give me a running back who's going to get 10 to 12 carries and another 5 or 6 targets every week, that shit is gold right there.
Heck yeah. I think you're right. I think Washington sucks. Well, defensively, they
Yes.
suck.
Yes, they
And,
do.
it's bad. And like I said, he hadn't put up huge numbers, but I think he's a viable, number 2 back or flex starter this week.
He is. I think he can be a mid-range RB2. I'm not, if I have to start him as my RB1 with the understanding that it's, bye weeks and everything, like I get it. I'm not enthused about it, but at the same time, this is a pretty damn good matchup.
It is.
And speaking of good matchups, the Texans this week, whether it's Joe Mixon or Cam Akers or Damian Pierce or whoever the hell they run out there, has a great matchup this week against the Bills, who are one of, if not the worst teams at stopping the run in the league. What say you, Kyle?
Well, he looked great in week 1. He had over 150 rushing yards on 30 carries, and then he got hurt week 2. So all indications that, if last week was a playoff game, he probably would have played, but it seems like the team decided to play it safe. Now, I'm assuming he's going to be back this week, but he hasn't practiced yesterday and he didn't practice today. So we'll see. And I thought that, since he practiced in a limited fashion Friday of last week and he got deemed day-to-day by D'Amico Ryans on Monday, I really think he would. So definitely check the injury reports there and stuff. But if he does return, like Matt said, he's going to have a great matchup in the form of a Buffalo Bills run defense that just got fucking torched by Derrick Henry for 199 yards, and they gave up over 270 total. So the Bills rank by a wide margin with 36 points per game allowed to opposing running backs. They allow the highest yards per carry at 5.7. No other team has allowed more than 5.3. They've also allowed the 3rd most total rush yards and the 2nd most rushes of 20 plus yards. So keep an eye on those practice reports throughout the week. As you get closer to Sunday's game, see if he's got an injury designation. You might need to pivot. Maybe right now hopefully if Cam Akers is available in the league, you can grab him now in hopes of, plugging him right in if Mixon can't go. But this is a big AFC game, could determine NFL playoff seeding. I kind of expect some points scored here. It is one of the higher totals on DraftKings at 47.5. But yeah, watch out. Really, 2 days ago when we decided who to go with, and now I'm just like, I can't believe he hasn't practiced.
Yeah.
The team really wants him back, and I need him back personally too, for my our home league, the big league. I could use him for sure.
All right, so that's our five. Well, our five starts for the week. Now it's time to get into some sits. Some dudes who we are not very high on. What's wrong, buddy?
Kenneth Walker, questionable.
Nice.
I just can't win. Anyway, go ahead, man.
Yes. So in the first one we're going to start with is Dak Prescott of the Dallas Cowboys. He is QB7 on the season, averaging 18.2 points per game. Got a couple games over 15 points. He's got, 149 attempts, 96 completions. That gives him a career low 64.4% completion rate, 1,072 yards passing, 6 touchdowns, a couple picks. He's also chipped in 21 rush yards and a rushing touchdown. He's second in the league in attempts, third in yards, and tied for fifth in touchdowns. So on the surface, it doesn't seem that bad. His 7.2 yards per attempt is 19th in the NFL, which is actually worse than Justin Fields and Anthony Richardson. I was surprised to learn that, especially the Justin Fields part.
Yeah.
So we talked on Tuesday when we were talking about, I think it was Rico Dowdle, about how Dallas has really moved away from the run game starting after the bye last season. It's carried into this season. Dallas is second in the NFL, averaging 38 pass plays per game, but he's going to be without Brandon Cooks. Now, granted, that's not the same as losing CeeDee Lamb, but still he's a very important part of that offense.
Yeah.
He's dealing with an infection resulting from a minor knee procedure he had done. He's also dealing with an underperforming offensive line in terms of pass blocking. They're rated 21st according to PFF. His 39 pressured throws is third among quarterbacks. However, he's completing 69.2% of those passes, which is actually fourth best. The Steelers are the sixth best team against quarterbacks, allowing an average of just 11 fantasy points per game. Fantasy Pros ECR has him 14th this week, just ahead of the serial sexual assaulter and just behind Anthony Richardson. I think that's probably about right. The chances are there might be some better options for this week on the waiver wire, like Justin Fields or Geno Smith, or maybe even Baker Mayfield. I think long-term Dak is going to be just fine, and he'll finish as a top 10 quarterback. This just ain't going to be his week against that Steelers defense.
No, it is not. They are, they've allowed less than 14 points per game to QBs at home since dating back to last year.
Yeah, I actually think there's a good chance Dallas loses this game. Their defense is no bueno.
I think there's an excellent chance that could happen.
It seems I don't know that I ever thought we'd be advocating for benching Patrick Mahomes,
but here we are.
But with all that's gone on, here we are.
Yeah. And, he really hasn't been a fantasy star over, the past year plus. Really, he's averaging just 15.4 points in his first 4 games this year, with a finish no better than QB 14 in any weeks this season. And he's QB 16 so far on the year. I mean, that's a major disappointment for a guy drafted among the top 5 fantasy QBs. And, he was mediocre in the second half last season too. So this really isn't a small sample size. This season, Mahomes is 14th in yards per attempt, 18th in passer rating, 13th in completion percentage, last in air yards per attempt at 5.1. Do you think it's going to get any better with what the Chiefs are dealing with? Yeah, me neither. And sure, he's thrown 6 TDs, but he's also thrown 5 picks. So why is Mahomes not what he once was? I think Travis Kelce finally lost the battle to Father Time, and now all the rest of the weapons are hurt. He's one of the best players in NFL history, but there's only so much he can fricking do, and he's even less attractive this week in a horrible matchup against the Saints. Their defense has allowed the fourth fewest points to quarterbacks this season, just 10.3 per game average. And they are near average in yards allowed per attempt. Kyle, read your notes. Third in interception, tied for 10th in sacks, top 10 in completion percentage allowed, and the lowest quarterback rating to opposing QBs. They've allowed just one passing touchdown, 4 touchdowns overall. In fact, half of the TDs they allowed this year were scored by Saquon Barkley in week 3. It wouldn't be a shock to see them have a very slow offensive game plan to try and grind out a win. I think that when we say, sit, it's more of a risk of another middling finish than truly bottoming out. It's hard not to start him. In some leagues, I probably still would. But just you can't expect anything big this week.
No, agree wholeheartedly. We got the Joker in here. Brock Purdy or Baker Mayfield. This one is a no-brainer for me.
Purdy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Going up against that Cardinals team at home.
Yeah.
Cardinals don't play a lick of defense.
Baker Mayfield, for sure.
Yeah.
Swiss cheese.
Mayfield's been, very good this season in his own right. I think AJ Terrell is really going to minimize any impact that Mike Evans has. And now you're looking at a passing attack of Chris Godwin and Cade Otton. And while Godwin's been good this year and Otton's been getting the targets, Brock Purdy essentially has his full complement of weapons minus Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah. And Jordan Mason is filled in very well. So.
Yes, absolutely.
Heck yeah.
Jim Jam. Justice Hill or Trey Sermon? Half PPR.
I think we're going Sermon if JT's out.
Yes, if JT is out, Sermon is the play. Strictly from a volume standpoint, if JT is in there, then Sermon is a non-entity.
For sure.
Good luck, Jim Jam.
Heck yeah. So Terry McLaurin has heated up the past 2 weeks with the ascent of his QB, Jaden Daniels. But we think he's a bit more bust than boom this week versus the Browns. What are some reasons managers should think about benching Scary Terry this week?
Well, he is the wide receiver 25 on the season because the team essentially forgot he existed the first 2 weeks where he averaged under 6 points per game. However, the last 2 weeks, he is the wide receiver 9, averaging over 19 points per game. 28 targets, 19 receptions, 191 yards, and a couple touchdowns on the year. And though he's 13th in air yards with 362, he's second in the league in air yard share at 57.2%. He's also third with 8 deep targets. He plays almost exclusively on the outside, and he has a 100% route participation. If it's a pass, his ass is out there. And we've seen how well Jaden Daniels has played so far, and that's another plus. Cleveland defense, though, they're allowing the second lowest completion percentage in the league, and they're top 10 in top 10 in fewest receiving yards allowed and touchdowns allowed. However, they will give up some big plays, so maybe he gets lucky. I think this week he is a low-end wide receiver 3 option. Look, if you really truly believe in Jaden Daniels, run him out there. And chances are you don't have somebody better on your bench that you can swap out. This is more of a temper your expectations. You're likely not going to see a repeat of what you've gotten from him the past couple of weeks. And that's why I say he's probably a low-end 3. If you only start 2, you can put him in your flex. Just don't expect 20 points.
Yeah. And it could Jaden Daniels could play very well against the Browns. We could see, the Browns have Myles Garrett, pretty decent pass rush. He's a great pass rusher, of course. And some of that's going to be negated this week because of Jaden Daniels' ability to scramble and run. And you'll probably see them run a lot more contain on the edges than a lot of straight up bull rush. So I could see McLaurin catching a big one, like you said, and it could happen. Yeah, don't expect huge things.
No, absolutely not. So we had a question about this guy earlier with the whole Davante Adams situation going on and Jakobi Meyers working on the outside. He's got probably the toughest cornerback draw in the NFL this week. Kyle, we should bench his ass, right?
We should bench his ass. It could be tough to do so. A lot of guys hurt. You got teams on bye. It's tough. It's tough. In PPR, he's wide receiver 29, averages just under 12 points per game. He's had 27 targets, which is good. 19 receptions, just over 200 yards and a touchdown. But a few things I don't like about Jakobi. He's not a great separator. He never really was, and that continues this year. Average separation, just 2.8 yards. That's 109 out of 140 qualified receivers. And the lack of yards after the catch is just pitiful. Less than one per reception. And I can't begin to tell you, those are pretty shitty traits to have, especially with a below average QB like Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell or whoever the hell's back there. They can't put the pass catcher in great situations where they could be successful to get some yards after the catch. I hate it. I just don't like. Jakobi Meyers was a fine receiver. What did he get? Like 800 yards last year or something like that. He did fine, but we might not never see Davante Adams in a Raiders uniform again. And if he was traded, most to benefit probably would be Jakobi Meyers and a little bit of Brock Powers, I suppose too. But the Week 5 matchup on the road in Denver is not the right time to play Jakobi Meyers, even if he did have a 41% target share last week. On the season, when Davante's been playing, Meyer lines up pretty much 50-50 between the slot and out wide. However, last week with without Adams in 29 passing snaps, Jakobi Meyers was out wide over 72% of the time. So what does that mean? It means Meyers is going to see a hell of a lot of cornerback Patrick Surtain, one of the best in the NFL, if not the best. And, he's not a guy that you're not going to see up in the box. That's not his game. He's glued to the opposing team's top receiver week after week. He will shadow receivers. He's taken over 15 snaps defending in the slot as well. So he could easily follow Jakobi Meyers there as well. I'd expect another low scoring affair for Meyers. I guess with the expected volume there, he'll see without Davante Adams. He's on the border of a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 for me, but I just don't like it one bit at all. So he has a decent waiver wire if you want to grab him for in the future. He's got some decent matchups in a few weeks. If Davante Adams does get traded, it could work out, but I don't recommend starting him in Week 5.
Very smart. We got Calvo here. Baker Mayfield or Jordan Love?
Who's the Packers play?
The Rams.
Oh, wow. I love it.
Yes.
Caleb, definitely love all the way, Calvo.
Yep.
For sure.
100%.
Yep.
Appreciate you stopping by.
That Rams defense, the secondary, it's young. It's they've given up a lot of yards.
Yes, it's young and not very good.
Yep. All right. One more guy, right? Yes. As a fantasy rule, you never sit Justin Jefferson. The same cannot be said for Jordan Addison this week, facing the best cornerback duo in the league with Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed with the Jets. It seems smart to sit him. What do you think, Maddie?
Yep, agree wholeheartedly. He's played in a couple games so far. He's had 4 targets and 3 grabs in each game, 107 total receiving yards and a touchdown. He also has a 7-yard rushing touchdown. Both those TDs came last week when he finished as the wide receiver 7. He lines up on the outside about 70% of the time, which means he gets either Sauce or DJ Reed. Wouldn't be surprised, though, if he does spend a little bit more time in the slot against Michael Carter, who honestly was pretty damn good in his own regard last year. But he is definitely, and don't read too much into this, he's the weak spot of their cornerback group there. as their nickel corner. This is the London game, and aside from the Eagles-Packers game this year in Brazil, and then there was that Jaguars-Bills game last year, the other, what is it? Yeah, 4 of the last 6 international games have been kind of a dud offensively. I think the way to beat that Jets defense is going to be on the ground. And I'm not taking anything away from what Sam Darnold and this team have done so far this season. They've done a very good job. They're undefeated. That shit don't happen by accident. But at the same time, Jordan Addison is not at a place yet where he's going to be able to win consistently against either of those 2 cornerbacks. And this is another situation. Maybe he gets lucky and breaks one or whatever it is. And there's no way to predict that. But at the same time, if I have another option that I can start over him, I'm seriously going to consider it. And similar to McLaurin, like, look, if you got to run him out there, I understand completely, right? You know, a lot of people's rosters are depleted because of injuries and bye weeks. Temper your expectations. He's probably going to end up as a wide receiver 3 this week, or, you know, a flex option, but there ain't going to be no wide receiver 7 finish this week for him.
Yeah, I think you are right. Dubo says, go ahead and doubt him. He's going to get 2 tutties this week. Mark it. So,
shit.
Yeah.
There ain't no way.
All right, we got a few questions in the chat, guys. We'll get to them. Jim Jam's up first. Jets, Steelers, Packers, or Patriots this week and for rest of season. Looking to get off the streaming trend. I really love streaming defenses every week, Matt.
It has its appeals because you can play the matchups, but at the same time, if you're going to do that, it's almost better to carry 2 defenses and be looking a couple weeks ahead.
Yep.
If you don't want to mess with that, I'm going to take the Steelers defense.
Yep.
They've been fantastic so far.
Yep. I was going to agree on the Steelers as well. I looked at their schedules, the 4 teams there while you were talking, and the Steelers really, I like the schedule rest of season over the other 3.
Yep.
Let's see. T-Money, 10-man PPR, Burrow, Jacobs, Connor. She's got CD, Chase, Kincaid, DK, Jamo, Ford, Chase Brown, Downs, Wicks, Worthy, Brooks. On IR. What am I missing here?
He's 2-2.
Oh, should I trade Connor, DK for Gibbs and Devonta Smith?
DK has been a damn beast so far this year.
Really good in that Ryan Grubb offense.
To me, that trade is almost a wash because I would rather have Gibbs than Connor, but I'd rather have DK over Devonta.
Agreed.
So that's one. Flip a coin. If you want to do it, I'm cool with it. I won't say you're an idiot for doing it, but I'm also like not going to dap you up afterwards saying you just won your league with that deal. It's 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
Okay. He's 1-3. Guy sent it. He needs a win. He needs a win this week. So, Supersonic, what up, man? Welcome back to the show. Glad you could make it.
What up, loud boy?
Yeah.
Rocking the Lions gear.
And Jim Jam, I don't have the space. Got Puka, Chubb, and Brooks on IR. So space is about to get more cramped.
Oh, yes. That shit's at a premium.
Welcome to fantasy football. And, part of me, if I got desperate enough, I might drop Chubb. I don't know. If you were
practicing.
If you were against the wall, I just wonder how he's going to look after that. Guys don't normally look so great after. That guy had
having their knee destroyed.
That guy, yeah, his whole knee was destroyed.
That was gross.
It was gross. Felt really bad for him. He's so talented.
And it sucks because he was pretty widely regarded as the best runner in the league.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Cool. That's all we got. That's the 5 starts, the 5 sits. We asked you a bunch of questions. We're going to get the heck out of here. So, because Thursday Night Football starting here in about 20 minutes. Don't forget, give us a like and subscribe. That way you don't miss us. If you do, we will take comments in the video replay. We'll answer those questions that you have as well if you miss us. And we will be back this Sunday at 12 noon Eastern for Tinker Time. We'll answer all your last minute start sit questions. Hell, anything. Come and shoot the shit with us. Either way, it'll be plenty of fun, I'm sure. So everyone have a good night and stay stoned. Good luck in your matchups.